Hello, I'm Michael van Geuren. Welcome to Behind the Bar with Paul Starr.
Welcome Behind the Bar with Paul Starr, brought to you by William Hill, the proud sponsor of the World Darts Championship. The World Series of Darts headed off to Auckland, and it was Adrian Lewis who landed the Auckland Masters. A couple of highlights to look at. Barney in the second round beat Michael van Geuren at 8-7. Michael missed a couple of match darts, but Barney banged a bullseye to move on through to the semi-final there. Adrian Lewis, he beat Gary Anderson 8-4 in the quarter-final with 67% checkout success rate. In the semis, Barney beat Wade 10-6. Lewis beat Phil Taylor, who missed 4 match darts, and ended his run of 14 World Series matches. Of course, he's won the Japan Darts Masters in Perth and, of course, in Sydney as well. In the final, Adrian Lewis 11, Barney 10. What a way to end. Adrian was fantastic all the way through. Barney was hitting 180s all over the place, 11 180s. And it was, would you believe it, Adrian won it on the double one. Unbelievable way to win the tournament. So great work there from Jackpot Adrian Lewis. And I'm happy to say I'm joined by Adrian's manager, the 1983 world champion, Keith Deller. You must be over the moon with Adrian's performance in New Zealand the last couple of days.
That's right, Paul. I thought it was fantastic the way Adrian played. You know, the last couple of weeks he's had a few deciding games, and you know that's how it's all about, holding your nerve. And I think that losing the final in Sydney a couple of weeks ago, beating Gary, you know, lost to Phil, where Phil was just awesome in the final. You know, that was a great thing for Adrian to make a big final, and then moved on to Auckland with a lot of confidence. Again, beating Gary, then obviously beating Phil, and then a great final against Raymond last night.
Yeah. But if you look at the double success rate, I think the lowest was against Phil, and that was 45%. And I think, you know, an Adrian Lewis who's banging those doubles, and we know how he scores, he's a match for anyone, isn't he?
Exactly. It's all about confidence. I think at the beginning of the year, when Adrian won two in the finals, won 2 tournaments on the players and lost in the final of the other one over a weekend, his finishing was unbelievable. And then the last couple of months, it's just not been to his sort of top level. And then, as you say, the first one in Perth, he missed a few doubles, obviously against Gary. But since the last couple of weeks, he's been practicing really hard to put that right. And that's what's really won him, you know, the Auckland Masters. His finishing was fantastic. His scoring, I mean, Barney had 11 180s against him. 4 times Raymond went back-to-back. But every time Adrian was setting things up, he was taking it out. And it's all about confidence, Paul. Adrian, I think he'll say the same, that he'd lost a little bit of confidence the last couple of months. Now, the confidence is back, and winning is always a great feeling. That's the best confidence you can ever have. Yeah, and that Adrian's going to be a tough player to beat with the majors coming up.
Very much so. And winning on, say, last leg deciders, that's great for the comp. Hey, if you win 10-0, that's wonderful. But you know, if you get through on that final double, going into that final leg, knowing that you know it happens in the future. I've done it. You know, I've done it a couple of weeks ago, or whatever. That's great for the confidence, isn't it? It must be.
It is, and especially leaving double one. When he stopped, come away from the hockey, took a drink, looked to the crowd, then come back, and you'd have thought, really, well, that's not Adrian. Adrian likes to get up there and get on with it, but you know that was fantastic what he did do, because it gave him just a chance to say, as he said in his interview after he won, he knew that was his last chance, and if he missed, Raymond wouldn't have missed another time. So he took his time. And the thing with Adrian is, you know, the lad's got a bottle, there's no doubt about it. It's sometimes with Adrian, it could be where he switches off sometimes, but when it comes down to really crucial things, you know, Adrian's the sort of player that he's not frightened. He's not frightened to win, because he's won, you know, 2 world titles back-to-back. So, you know, I was really chuffed for him. If he'd have lost to Raymond, he's still done really well. I think he was averaging nearly 107, 108, virtually the whole of the final. Yeah. Still ended up with about 103. So, you know, it still would have been a great performance, but it's always nice to win and hold the trophy.
It certainly is. And so that double one, I mean, did you have a word with him? You'd have had a word with him say, hang on, don't you aim a little bit high on your first start on the double one?
The number. Aim for the number 1, and then if you've got a guide, then go for it.
Yeah.
Go for double 19s. I mean, Adrian loves double 19. I hate that. I'd be going 6 double 16, but you know that these boys are so talented now that it don't really matter what doubles on the board. You know, they expect to hit it.
Yeah, I remember. I think when he hit the big the double 19 in a world semi-final against James Wade, I think on a 95 check it was, and then he'd done the double 7 in the world match play against Michael van Gerwen, straight at it, bang. I mean, that's the difference, isn't it? That's confidence.
Well, the lad's that talented, you know. Maybe I'm not being biased. I mean, you can either commentate and say, you know, when he's on his best game, you know, can anybody beat him? But Michael's been playing fantastic the last few years. Gary Anderson's been brilliant. And obviously we've got the power back now to his best. So, you know, you've got to win anything now, you've really got to be playing fantastic. But Adrian now, I think they've been talking about Michael, Phil and Gary, you know, the last couple of months, which fair enough, Adrian hasn't been winning. Now they'll start talking about Adrian Lewis again because, you know, he's going to be tough to beat. Yeah,
and to beat a good Barney, to beat Phil, Barney and Gary in one tournament, you know, there's some of the best players in the world. I mean, that's the way to do it. There's no easy ride in this World Series, is there? Jeez.
Not really. I mean, some of the World Series, you know, Simon Whitlock, who's a dangerous floater for the boys who were seeded. Kyle Anderson at Perth, fantastic. Kyle's really starting to play great darts. So you had some real tough draws there. Then all of a sudden, once you get over the likes of Simon and Kyle, you then walk into the best players in the world. So it's always tough, but that's what they want to play in. I think they've had a fantastic 3 weeks. The organisation has been brilliant. As we know, the PDC do a fantastic job. And, you know, the support they've been getting with the crowds has been absolutely brilliant. So I can only see the World Series getting bigger and bigger. Bigger and bigger.
And obviously next year, you want to be part of that. I think they should be flying you over, shouldn't they, Keith? Really?
Well, they're looking at possible China as well, and before you know it, will they hit the States? That'd be the...
That would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
They all want to be part of darts because we know the sport is fantastic.
Yeah, it certainly is, and of course it doesn't stop. So now, and we're looking at the European Tour number 7 in Moorham in Germany. That's just a couple of weeks' time, and then it just moves on, and then a roller coaster there with these major events leading up to the World Championship at the end of the year. So that's great. I think, you know, the Auckland Masters, that's under Adrian's belt, and then straight into the next one. There's no stop.
Well, exactly. This is, you know, these tournaments were great, but they wasn't on the ranking system. So Adrian's gone to number 5 in the world, which we don't think he should be there. He should be at least in the top 4. So Adrian's goal now is over the next 3 or 4 months is to get back in the top 4, which he's well capable of doing. But, you know, there's great players. James Wade, Peter Wright, they're playing really good darts. So Adrian's got to be on his best game, and hopefully we'll have him back after the World Championships. The goal is his third world title, and you know, there's a lot of good tournaments beforehand: the Grand Prix, the Grand Slam, the European Championship. So there's a lot of good stuff coming up. But it's nice that Adrian's going to be now going into these events feeling very confident. Yeah,
and yourself, Keith. I know you're very busy still with the exhibitions with the legends and things.
Yes, really good. Still doing a lot of shows. I'm working on the new Sky One show next week. I'll be doing the spotting for the new game show that's Davina McCall and Freddie Flintoff.
Yeah, that's 180, isn't it? 180 they're calling that.
Sorry?
It's called 180, isn't it, the show they're calling it?
That's right, 180, so that's original. But it should be really good. It's I think they've got to play off against the pros first, and then it generates money. The amateur comes in and try and gains points, and then they pair up with one of the best players in the world to try and win the cash. So I think it's good. I mean, Bullseye, I was on it a lot of times. Did Chris shows. That was a great TV dart show. So there's room for one, and I think it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, that is fun. What a great way to finish. Well, Keith, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck for the rest of the year for AD, and of course yourself on that. And we look forward to seeing you again on Behind the Bar.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Cheers.
Thank you. Great to catch up with a 1983 world champion there, Keith Deller, and of course over the moon with a success there for Adrian Lewis in Auckland. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us on TungstenTales. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. And join us next week on more Behind the Bar with Paul Star, brought to you by William Hill, the proud sponsor of the World Darts Championship.